All right, so let's talk about Base. You've probably heard of it. It's the blockchain built by the crypto giant Coinbase. But we're going to dig into why this is so much more than just another piece of tech. It is a massive, strategic bet on what the future of crypto actually looks like for everyone.
And to really get this, we have to start with this one core idea. The real problem holding crypto back right now is not about speed or transactions per second. It's about getting normal people, you and me, to actually use it and stick around.
And that leads us right into our first big topic, what we're calling the billion user problem. It's this huge gap between where crypto is today and where it needs to be to hit the mainstream.
I mean, just look at this side-by-side comparison. It really says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the internet we use every day. It's easy, it's fast, you don't even think about it. And on the other, you have the typical experience in crypto. It's just been complicated, confusing, and honestly pretty frustrating for most people. So you've got this huge roadblock, and it's really two problems mashed into one. First, the core technology of Ethereum itself, while being super secure, was often just too slow and way too expensive for simple, everyday apps. And second, the user experience. It was a nightmare for beginners. You had to learn about wallets, seed phrases, gas fees. It was just too much friction.
So if you're Coinbase, what do? How do you solve a problem that's part tech and part human behavior? Well, their answer wasn't to try and build a whole new, faster highway. Instead, they decided to build a really simple bridge to get people onto the highway that already exists.
At its core, Base is what's known as a Layer 2 network, and the highway analogy is perfect. It doesn't try to replace Ethereum. No, instead, it builds a super fast, super cheap express lane that runs right alongside it, taking all the traffic and congestion off the main road.
But here's the thing. The technology, that express lane, that's only half the story. The real secret sauce, the true killer app for Base, isn't the code. It's the fact that this new express lane has a dedicated on-ramp connected directly to Coinbase's massive 110 million user ecosystem.
And this really gets to the heart of their entire philosophy. They even say it themselves, a bridge, not an island. The goal isn't to build another separate, walled-off ecosystem. It's to be the single, trusted, default starting point for millions of people to finally step into the world of on-chain apps.
Okay, but to build a bridge that smooth, that easy for everyone to cross, they had to make a choice. A really big, and for some people, a really controversial trade-off that kind of goes against the whole original idea of crypto.
It all comes down to this one critical piece of the puzzle called a sequencer. And the analogy of an air traffic controller is just perfect. This thing is responsible for collecting all the transactions, putting them in the right order, and making sure everything runs smoothly. And here's the catch. For Base to be as fast and as reliable as it is, well, right now, that air traffic control tower is run by one company and one company only, Coinbase itself. This makes things incredibly efficient, but it also means there's a single central point of control.
So this is the bargain they've struck. The trade-off is crystal clear. On the one hand, you get this amazing user experience that finally feels like the normal internet. It's fast, it's reliable, it just works. But the downsides are significant. You're giving up decentralization for that convenience, which opens the door to potential outages, censorship, and regulatory issues.
So the big question is, did the gamble pay off? Has this trade-off actually worked? Well, when you start to look at the on-chain data, the story it tells is absolutely fascinating.
The answer in one word? Yes, absolutely. When it comes to their primary mission of bringing people on-chain, it has been a massive, runaway success. Base has pulled in nearly 25 million monthly active users, a number that consistently has them at or near the top of all the leaderboards.
But if you dig a little deeper, the story gets even more interesting. If you look not just at how many users there are, but at how much value each user is actually bringing to the network, you see a totally different picture. Compared to rivals like Arbitrum, which are full of big DeFi whales, the average user on Base has much less capital at stake.
And this is the key insight. That's not a weakness, not at all. In fact, it's the ultimate proof that their entire strategy is working exactly as planned. They aren't just attracting the crypto rich, they're winning over everyday people who are interested in things like social apps, games, and NFTs.
Now, of course, Base doesn't exist in a vacuum. The Layer 2 space is incredibly competitive. What's so interesting here is that even though pretty much every major player is running a centralized sequencer for now, they're all starting to carve out their own unique identities. Arbitrum is focused on finance, while Base is clearly all in on the consumer.
So where does all this go from here? What's next? Well, Base's future seems to be unfolding along two different paths at the same time. One is a slow, steady march toward decentralization, and the other is a flat-out sprint to become something much, much bigger.
On the inside, the team has a very clear and public roadmap to fix that centralization problem we talked about. They've already hit major security milestones, and they're actively working on a plan to eventually decentralize that all-important sequencer.
But honestly, the biggest potential for Base might be external. For huge financial institutions on Wall Street, the fact that Base is run by a regulated, publicly traded American company, that's not a bug, it's a feature. It's the feature they've been waiting for.
And this is where you can see the grand vision really start to come into focus. Base is perfectly positioned to become the premier, trusted bridge for Wall Street to bring trillions of dollars of real-world assets, we're talking stocks, bonds, real estate, into the crypto economy, where they can be accessed by millions of regular users.
And so, that's where we're left. It all comes back to this one massive billion-user question. Base is, without a doubt, a powerful and pragmatic solution to crypto's biggest adoption problem. But its success really forces us to ask a tough question. Can the easiest path to a truly decentralized future really begin on a bridge that looks, for now, an awful lot like the centralized world we already have?